Hi, this is Mrs. Nickel, and I am going to show you today how to do the gram stain. Now you will see I have been properly outfitted. I've put my hair up, and I put my lab coat on. I also need gloves because not only are we going to be working with iodine, which some people are allergic to, but we're staining stuff, so it doesn't only stain what's on the slide. It can stain your hands as well. So the first thing we need to do is collect the specimens. So I have decided to produce a sputum sample for you today. So give me a second so I can work something up here. It's just a little bit, but you can see the stuff that's kind of sticky, that's sputum, and it either comes coughed up from your chest or from your sinus cavities. You kind of like snort it back down. But not my best, but I bet we're going to find some bacteria in there. Mrs. Lancenese has kindly offered to give us a specimen of her own, and she has decided to do her throat, I believe, right? Okay, so she's currently swabbing her throat, and I'm going to write on our slides here so we know which is which. I'll hold on to that. Thanks. So I have her specimen here. Now, when specimens go to a lab, it's not going to come up like this. It's going to come in a container because if someone was sick, obviously you don't want to expose other people to that. So this will be my slide. I just wrote Nickel on it. We're just going to put a big ol' L for Lancenese, because I don't think I can fit that all on the slide. So first let's make her slide. All I'm going to do is take it and rub it on the slide. Now, you can't really see anything, and that's the whole point of staining it, because we want to be able to see it. And then I'm going to just stick it on this plate warmer for a little bit, and I'll throw this away. But the plate warmer is going to fix the specimen onto the slide. Meanwhile, we'll get my sample on the slide as well. So here's my lovely sputum, and you can tell it's sputum if it is stringy, if that makes sense. Spit isn't really stringy, but sputum is. So here's my sputum specimen, just rubbing it all over the slide. And I'll put that on my heater to warm up. In fact, I will throw my sputum specimen away as well. So we're just going to let this kind of fix on these slides for a little bit of time. And meanwhile, let me introduce you to our stains. So over here on the left, we have our crystal violet. It's kind of it's actually like a very bluish color, but when you mix it with Graham's iodine, which is yellow, it sort of makes a purple. Now, I realize that's counterintuitive to mix blue and yellow and get purple, but trust me, that's what happens. So, crystal violet, Graham's iodine. We then have our ethyl alcohol that decolorizes our cells. Then we have safranin, and that is our counterstain. So in the end, it'll make any of our gram-negative cells red. We also have distilled water. I'll use that at various times to wash off the slides. And I also have my timer here because that's very important. So, looking at this, and of course you cannot see this, but I can see that the specimen has dried. So I'm going to stick it on the edge of my cup here. And I'm doing it like this because I don't want to stain our pretty sinks and make people mad at me. So I'm doing kind of the cheating method, and I'm just going to do it on cups. So we're going to start out with our crystal violet. This is our primary stain. Ooh, this one's way more purple than they usually are, but you can see it's quite a lovely shade of purple. So my first step, all I'm going to do is put purple all over the slide. Very simple. See, I already made a mess, so it's a good thing I had that there. this, I'm going to let it sit for a minute. No, I'm not. Now, when you get really good at doing a Gram stain, you kind of don't have to exactly follow the procedure. The method that Dr. Gram came up with said, you know, it's like 2 minutes for the crystal violet, and then 2 minutes for the mordant, the iodine. That takes forever. You don't really have to do it that long. Your bacteria will usually stain faster than that. So it's already been 30 seconds. Basically right now what's happening is that crystal violet is absorbing into the peptidoglycan that's in the cell wall of the bacteria. Remember, our gram-positive has a really thick layer of peptidoglycan. Our gram-negative has a very thin layer. The gram-negative also has an outer layer of lipids, so kind of prevents the crystal violet from really setting in. And time's up. But again, it doesn't have to be perfect, so I can sort of chat here and do this at the same time. Next, we're going to be adding our iodine. This is called the mordant. Basically, what's going to happen is when I add the iodine to everything, it forms a water-insoluble precipitate. So basically what happens is the cells that have absorbed the crystal violet, that crystal violet's really going to get stuck in the cells now. So this kind of just, you know, makes it really, really stick in. I'm going to dump this a little bit. But you can already see the precipitate in there, like it kind of bunches up and gets a little gross. So I'll add a little bit more on top. And honestly, this stage can sit, I mean, this is one of those stages, it can sit there forever, but again, you can see that precipitate on there. It just kind of goobers up, for lack of a better science term. Yeah, this stage can really sit indefinitely. It's a really good place to stop if you need to go do something else, like go to the bathroom or eat your lunch. Like, you can just leave it sitting here at this point for quite a long time. But we're not going to do that. Don't worry. So let me bottle this back up. And I'll dump off my excess. And I'm going to actually wash this off a little bit with some water. But you can already see, like, a lot of, you know, a lot of the background, like, on the slide is already staining. So you can kind of already see it on there. I'll dump this one as well. And our next step, and you can see I already have it all over my hands, so it's a good thing I have gloves on. Alright, our next step is the decolorizer, the ethyl alcohol in this case. Although you can use acetone, acetone works faster than the ethyl alcohol. But you basically want to flood your slide. And I don't know how well you can see it, but the purple is coming like right off of this. And then I'm going to flush it with water so that stops happening, because that's kind of important. And I'll just set it there for now while I do the other one. So basically what happens is, for the gram-negative bacteria that didn't hold on to that stain very well in the first place, all the crystal violet is being sucked out of those cells. And water again to stop the reaction. So all of the gram-positive cells will still retain that crystal violet because of that thick peptidoglycan layer. Now we need to counterstain, because at this point our gram-positive cells are going to be purple and our gram-negative cells are going to be clear, which isn't really helpful to us because a lot of the bacteria that cause disease are gram-negative. So we can't see them, that's not really going to help us too much. So I'm adding my, my red dye here, the Safranin, to our slides. And this is another good time to take a bathroom break, because basically the red can stay on there indefinitely. I mean, hopefully you know from your color wheel, the red color is not going to cover up the purple color. So purple will shine through on the gram-positive bacteria, and then it'll leave our gram-negatives to be red. So I'll just set a minute again. And if you take a look at my hands, I have dye all over my hands. Again, good thing I have protection. So, and my lab coat looks mostly clean. There might be some dots on there, but I'm borrowing it from Miss Lanceny, so I have to be really careful. It's my own coat. It would probably be tie-dyed at this point. So again, it's just sitting here, a good old red dye counter stain. So in a couple more seconds I can dump that off, because in the meantime, you know, it's just absorbing into those gram-negative cells. I mean, it is also absorbing into the gram-positive cells, but like I said earlier, the purple's going to shine through because it's a darker color. Okay, they're not going to magically become red. So, let's see, I have about 10 more seconds. Dump this one and wash it off. I hear you. Alright, so now it's all wet. I'm just going to wipe off the bottom. I don't want to wipe off the top. That's where our bacteria is. And as you can see, there's still like goobers and stuff on there, but that's not a big deal because I should be able to focus in on an area where I can actually see the cells. Dump that one. And wash it off again. But I mean, you can see, like, there's definitely stuff on there where there wasn't before. So now we should be able to see our bacteria pretty well. And again, I just put them back on our makeshift slide warmer so that everything dries up. You can't really look at this type of slide when it's wet. You want it to be completely dry so that you can get a really good, clear picture of it under the microscope. But that's basically it for gram staining. It's a tried and true method. They've been using it for over 100 years, and it works really, really well, as you can see the pictures that I'm showing you in the course. So if you have any questions on the gram stain, please feel free to ask, but pretty simple and straightforward. So thanks for watching.